Hello, everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. And man, do I have a fun interview for you to listen to and watch. It's with a band called Pangaea, and they have been kind of off the radar for a few years and have come back on board with a brand new album called Beowulf. And it is great. If you love prog rock, and who doesn't, the intricacies, the harmonies, all those kind of things, all those surprises that happen with prog rock, you're going to get with this album. It's phenomenal. You're going to absolutely love it if you love prog rock. And this interview was a lot of fun to conduct too. These two brothers have put together the band and re-brought it back together as well. Andi and Corey Schenck, they were a lot of fun to talk to. Incredible musicians. And what I love about this business is you find out real quick how small the world really is, especially in the music world. Because if you've followed Boomerocity for very long at all, you know that we have had several interviews, 3 to be exact, with another prog rocker by the name of Robert Berry. He's been tied in with ELP and all of those guys. Phenomenal musician, and a lot of fun to talk to every chance we get. So that's who produced this album, as well as the band's previous 3 albums. So there's a great synergy, a great relationship there. And again, I would encourage you to download this album, purchase it, please, support the bands. And if you would, please share this interview with people. And while you're watching it, please hit subscribe and like. It helps us. It doesn't cost you a thing. So without any further ado, here's my interview, my first actually, with Andi and Corey Schenck of Pangaea. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. Well, guys, thanks so much for taking the time. Now, where are you guys clicking in from?
Houston, Texas.
Oh, okay. I used to live up in the Dallas area before moving to the Smokies.
Wow, I was born there. Dallas is my hometown.
Is that right? Oh, yes. I moved here from McKinney, lived in Irving, and lived in Saxe for a while. So
nice.
So I'm very familiar with it. Was there for 20 years. So,
wow.
Andi, where are you dialing in from?
Also in the Houston area, kind of between Houston and Galveston.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks for dialing in, man. I'm in the Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee, and thrilled to be talking with you guys. John Lappin introduced me to y'all, and love your sound. So it's a privilege to be able to chat with you. So tell viewers the Reader's Digest version of your band.
Go, Andi.
What? I was going to put that on you.
You got it.
Go brothers.
Right ahead. If you miss something, I'll jump in.
Oh, Reader's Digest version. So starting with the background, it's a group of guys. The bass player, Ron Polson, Corey and I met when I was in junior high, and Corey and Ron were in high school. So we've been playing together for that long.
Wow.
Then Corey met Stephen Osborne and Darren Massingale. They were all in a music theory class at Tulsa Junior College up in Oklahoma. So when Corey and I was still in grammar school and he was in junior high, we wound up relocating from Texas to Oklahoma, which is where we met all these guys and went to school with them. Mm-hmm. We started music with Ron playing, like most people start doing the cover tunes and learning music. We did a lot of classic rock from CCR to the Police, the Cars, the Eagles, some old Heart. We really had quite a mix of that. So a little bit of Toto, a little bit of the Police.
Uh-huh.
And then we started incorporating some of our original tunes in there. The guys, as we grew up, got more heavily involved in music and learning, and we were writing, and then we were mixing our musical sets with original music and cover tunes and doing that kind of a blend. And then we reached a point where we were like, okay, we don't want to do cover tunes anymore. We want to do our original music. We enjoyed it more because you're performing something you've created.
Right.
You get to see how people appreciate that, whether it's good or bad or however you want to take that. If you care what the people think and want to give them what they want, or if you just want the music to develop as it would like to develop. And farther down the road, we started recording demos of our original music, going to local studios. We were introduced to Walt Bowers of the 25th Track recording studio in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
All right.
And he was a guy that recorded several of the local artists up there. And I believe he was Corey can correct any of this if he needs to. Walt Bowers was a keyboard player, a piano player for the Osmonds.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he was a lot of fun to work with. And that was our first real studio experience as a band.
Mhm.
And we recorded a 4-song EP. And this wound up getting in the hands of who is now our producer, Robert Berry,
I know
a
Robert.
mutual fan of ours and of Robert's, kind of linked us together. And from there, as they say, the rest is history. You know, that's where Pangaea started and has expanded and grown. Corey?
I've interviewed Robert, I think 3 times. Great guy, man. Love him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, that was all spot on. Yeah, I think, and Andi was talking about that. Yeah, we put the band together in 89, and by 91, we had definitely made that shift to being original only at that point.
Mhm.
And so, after about 1.5 or 2 years of doing a mixture of the two, then in 91, we just said, we're doing what we want to do now. And everybody was writing, everybody's bringing in music, and yeah, like Andi said, it just kind of kept growing from there.
So I would put you guys in as kind of a prog rock band. Would that be a fair
Yeah,
label if you're going
I
to be
think,
labeled?
yeah, most people tend to put us there, and that's fine. And I'm progressive rock is one of my passions. I love all that stuff. The classic '70s, yes, Genesis, King Crimson, ELP, of course. So yeah, that'd be totally fine. But I think we do have stuff that branches out further.
Yeah,
It can
I
be
agree.
a little more heavy, a little more pop, a little more folky some of the time. I think we go out wider than that. But I think progressive is probably a good way to put it. Probably because of the diversity in the music. Like on this new album, we have a song that's only 2 minutes long, and we have 2 others that are almost 10 minutes long each. So, the music kind of goes where the music wants to go, whether it's a 2-minute song or a 10-minute song. So,
Well, I think that's probably a good reason too why you guys and Robert Berry got together, because that's certainly
yeah,
his wheelhouse of
yeah,
expertise, and knows what he's doing there.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
So you guys were kind of on hiatus for a while, and then have come back into play again.
Mhm.
Describe how that all came about.
Yeah. So even when we went on break for the 15 plus years, we were still in touch. Everybody still talked once in a while. It could be months apart or sometimes weeks apart. And then probably around 2019, so yeah, 5 years ago, a couple of us started talking more and more often. Like every week we were talking, through text or phone call or messages or whatever. And we just kept saying, let's do something. And finally, in the summer, in June of 2021, we met in Dallas, where it used to be, downtown Dallas, the hotel,
Mhm.
because 2 of the guys still live in Oklahoma, and 3 of us live in the Houston area. So Dallas is about halfway, and we just got together to talk. And and like Andi said to someone else a while back, it was, in some ways, it was like we'd never been apart. It was really a strange feeling. In other ways, it was like, whoa, it's been a long time. It was both these feelings in one. And initially, we were just going to work on doing live shows and play the music from the back catalog. We have 3 albums of music, and that was going to be the focus. And we've been rehearsing for a few months, and I had a couple of songs, and Steve had a song, and Andi had a song, and we started bringing music in, and everybody thought, well, let's do a new album. So we reached out to Robert, and he was excited that everybody was back together. So we we went back in the summer of 22, and recorded the new music with him. And we were out there for about 2 weeks, and we had a ton of music. We went out there and did the work with him. And that's kind of the result of it. So, and everybody was really glad. It had to be this core. It had to be the right members too. We had tried other people at different times and live settings, and it didn't always gel right. But when these 5 guys come together, that's the band. That's the Pangaea that made the first 3 albums. It was different groups of 4, but it was the same 5 people. And so that's the group, and we're all back. And we actually have a sixth member now, a guitarist, keyboardist named Scott Drawn. And we got him because we realized in rehearsals we couldn't cover all the parts. There was too much going on, because I do a ton of guitar and keyboard on every song, and it's all in the background, or it's feedback, or twinkly space sounds and UFOs flying over your head. And we realized we couldn't do it live, and we did not want to use backtracks for the harmonies, for the guitars, or anything. So Scott was the guy to go to. We knew him from years before. And he graciously accepted the gig, and he's been rehearsing with us since last October, I believe.
Wow.
So even though he's not on the album, he was at the shows we've been playing. So yes, we're a 6-piece now. The album's a 5-piece, but the band is a 6-piece right now.
So when you guys started talking in 2019, and then the pandemic hit, were you kind of feeling like, crap, our timing's wrong, or what? How did that affect you guys getting back together, practicing, playing, that kind of thing?
I think in a way it was the opposite. We're like, let's take advantage of this, in a way. It sounds weird, but we like I said, we met in Dallas, and that was in June. And I think by August, Ron and Steven flew down to Houston. We started rehearsing, and we ran through the music, and then we would rehearse about every 4 to 5 weeks. They would fly out about once a month, and we'd work on the set. But no, we just I don't think we really thought too hard about that, actually.
Well, I noticed a lot of artists did that. They took advantage of the downtime, reconnected with family members, refreshed their memory of what their spouses look like, things like that. But and then also took advantage of the time to get really, really creative. Some, got into, as you well know, probably got into a lot of, Zoom concerts and trying the drive-in thing and all that. But I think we're starting to see a lot of the great music that was, seeded at that time.
Yeah.
And it looks like you guys did the same thing. Working on this new album, which I love, by the way. My gosh, that's just a phenomenal range of tunes there.
Oh, thank you, Randy.
What was different this time working on this album than the previous albums? What when you guys were working on it, what was the thing where it's like, oh wow, we haven't experienced this before? I mean, I know technology probably had to bring some of those kind of thoughts together.
Yeah, I think for me, I think as a whole, and I know for myself, we were more prepared going in. We did a lot of demo work at our home studio at Andi's house. We laid the tracks down and worked on them. We did pre-production work there. So by the time we got to Robert's studio in California, we were pretty much ready to go. We were well rehearsed. Everyone knew the music. We knew the songs. And the creative aspects and the pre-production, the arranging were all taken care of. Where on the other albums, we maybe had the songs and got in there, and then maybe Robert had an idea to change, hey, can we change the bridge section in this song? Or what about this one lyric here? We would do that stuff on those early albums. Where on this one, I think because of our own growth and maturity as musicians and songwriters, we had already done all that.
Mm-hmm.
So we got in there and it was pretty much just hit the ground and hit record. And, we maybe changed the key on a couple to push Steven's voice a little bit. Maybe it was too easy for him in the studio. You want to raise it and make him, work harder. But besides some key changes, pretty much the way we approached the studio, the songs were that way in pre-production. Yeah. So I think we were much more mature and more confident as songwriters and performers in the studio.
I think if I could add a little bit into that, I think in our hiatus there, each of the members were pursuing music in one way or another during the hiatus. So it's not like everybody quit music.
Right.
So I think each of our individual growth in our musical directions, Corey is a professor of music and teaching composition and theory. And Daryl, our guitar player, he was real heavy in live performance, and he was continuing with that. And Stephen Osborne got involved in opera, and he performs with the Tulsa Opera Company.
Wow.
And I was working on some more kind of recording projects. Corey and mine's younger brother, Eric Schenck, he has electronica project that I was working on with him called Glass Shadows. And then Corey was working with his other band. And, Ron was pursuing music in Tulsa, Oklahoma, working with touring acts and things like that. So everybody was developing more individually. And then exactly as Corey said, when we came back together, we had all that new feeling and all that within each guy. And that comes out in performance and writing. And then the pre-production work that Corey described. I think it put us in a really good spot.
Yeah.
Since, between or during the hiatus, during all that, what between the first batch of albums and this new one, what's been the biggest change in recording for you? I mean, obviously software's probably had something to do with it, but as far as it affecting your approach, how you get things done, all of that, what in those areas, what has been the biggest change you recognized, especially while working on this latest album?
Yeah. So the first three that we did with Robert, 96, 98, and 2000, 2001, somewhere in there, we recorded all those on 2-inch tape. I was on tape. And the new one, of course, is on Pro Tools. So that, of course, is a huge change, and you can do punch-ins much differently. We still, we weren't letting the computer fix our issues. We still wanted to, play in tune and play in time. We still were, like I said, we were well rehearsed. Most of us knew the parts, and we wanted to do it right, like the old way. And one thing too about what Andy said about those individual projects we were all doing, going into the studio, this is an example. Ron Paulson, the bassist, he laid down the bass on all songs. Andy, correct me if I'm wrong in this. I think it was in 2.5 days he had all the bass parts down.
Wow.
I mean, he did some of them like in 1 or 2 passes, and Robert was going, "Wait, is that it? Really?" And these were some of our tricky parts, but he just nailed it. And honestly, and Andy too. Andy did the drums in about 2.5, 3 days. And if the drums and bass had not been done in those first 5 days, I don't know if we would have finished every song we wanted, but we were tight. We were well rehearsed and ready to go. So I think that's the thing too, is going to the studio, just the confidence level of each player was much higher.
So you guys had to put away all the bass player jokes in after that, right?
Yeah, we did at that point. Yeah. I took many more takes to get my parts than he did, and I wrote most of it. I couldn't remember the parts, So yeah.
Were there any surprises working on this new album?
Andy?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm trying. There's always something that comes up when you're in the studio. A lot of times I'm trying to recall one for this specific album, but many times we've been in the studio and somebody might have a mental lapse where they jump the gun on a part, or you play something that wasn't the way it was written, but then when you reflect back on it, it's like, wait, that's really cool. We're going to keep that, or the music kind of does a little something different. I can think of examples on one of the previous albums that I just can't pull on one for this one. Any surprise that hit us? Well, one thing on a performance level, kind of Stephen Osborne, our singer, surprised me on the Wasape track when he really delivered that. Correct me if I'm wrong, or Anglo-Saxon, right?
Yes.
The performance and the emphasis, the phonetics, everything he put into that was, I knew he was capable of it, but I didn't know how it would pull off on a recording. And I was very blown away by it.
Yeah, I think even though, that the part with the Wasape song and the Beowulf poem being recited, like Andy said, that's kind of a pleasant surprise, because Steve just nailed it with his opera training. And the other one too would be the song "A Month of Sundays." It was such a quirky tune that Steve and I had worked on together. I think the whole band wasn't sure how that one was going to come out. And when we got there, Robert and this vocal engineer, Tom, just loved it. And I think Steve and I delivered a pretty good performance on that one. And so I think, some of the songs that we maybe weren't sure how they would go became a pleasant surprise. We did get it right, or even knock it out of the park, I think. So yeah, I think from that level, yeah.
So which song, if I was going to tee up the album for people who haven't heard of you guys, which song would you guys point to as the calling card?
I think I know the one most of the band would say.
Yeah.
Probably Necromancer, the lead-off track.
The first track, yeah.
Yeah, I think that one showcases the most because, it starts like the first, maybe 2 minutes are acoustic, almost folk-like. So you've got this real ethereal kind of melodies singing. And it just turns into this really aggressive, almost metal type feel, with these like the rhythm we're quoting in that is from Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring. We're doing our own harmony with it and orchestration, of course, but
Right.
the accents are Stravinsky, and then it goes, and then it comes back to the acoustic, and then it goes into this, polymeter, rhythms going crazy against each other for the next, 3 or 4 minutes to the ride out. I would say that one probably showcases the most. If you want to kind of catch someone off guard and go, "Whoa, what is this?" And I would probably say "Do Wasape."
Yeah.
You hear those tribal drums coming in, all of a sudden Steve's reciting Beowulf. It's like, wait, what is this? So it would kind of depend.
But and Without You is no slouch either.
Oh, thank you.
I like that one a lot. That
That's a good rock
was
song,
a cool
yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Robert really liked the melody in that one. When I remember when Steve was in there working on it, Robert looked at me and he goes, "This is a good melody." He liked the melody that I wrote on that song. And Steve delivered it really well. I mean, he did the whole album. I thought he nailed those lead vocals. So
What are you hearing as far as feedback from people who've heard the album so far?
Andy?
Most of the feedback that we have received has been very good. And I think a lot of that ties to the diversity among the tracks on the album. If you don't necessarily like something down a certain pathway of your musical taste, there may be another track on this album that you're like, "Hey, yeah, I really kind of dig that one." You might really go for Tomorrow Will Come being such an upbeat, kind of uplifting kind of track if you're not into the minor keys and the kind of more moody stuff, So
Yeah.
the feedback has been great. We're actually very excited. I mean, we're kind of itching to really get back out there and do a lot more performing, so we're kind of fine tuning for that and just trying to get all the ducks in a row so we can continue hitting everything correctly.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, the live feedback has been good so far too. We played our first full concert, which was an hour at this art studio in Beaumont, Texas, in East Texas.
yeah.
And the crowd was mostly high school and college age people. And
Tough crowd,
there were
too.
3 other acts about that age playing before us. We were the closing band. I was going, I don't know how this is going to fly over tonight, but they were into it. I mean, they were the whole crowd. They stayed, they were swaying with their arms. And one of the songs, they were doing this tribal ritual dance in a circle. And man, they were into it. And after the show, they were coming up and talking to us. They were buying merch. So it was really cool that the young crowd liked it because we played 4 songs from the new album at that show.
Wow.
It went really well. So the feedback has been good so far. It's been good for the album and the live stuff. I'm sure the bad stuff's coming. It always does. But, it's so far it hasn't happened yet. So
Well, good. That's a good sign, though.
yes.
Now, I jotted this down, and now I'm concerned that I might have pulled it off the wrong one sheet or something. But so I'm going to take a risk at embarrassing myself here. But did I read that you guys did an acoustic album of your stuff back in 2005?
Yeah.
And you record. Okay, so good.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not going
I
to
know where this is
embarrass myself.
going. Yes.
Yeah. So tell people where you recorded at on that. I thought that was a cool story.
Yeah. So it goes back to actually 2003. We recorded our 4th album with Robert called The Reckoning. And it's 12 songs. It hasn't been released yet. We are going to put this out later. We just haven't put it out yet. And we started working with another producer manager in Hollywood named Dito Godwin, who had a pretty nice resume with artists he had worked with. And he was trying to work with us and shop us. And we had been playing shows with these new songs, with the focus of the set being on these new songs. And he decided to get us more gigs, we should do these acoustic versions of our music. So we stripped out all the big instrumental sections and kind of focused on just the bare, the meat and bones of a song, the verse, the chorus, maybe a short solo and keep going. And we had these, like 3 of us on acoustic guitars and Andi on hand percussion. And then we went to record this. We recorded 5 or 6 tunes. Dito set this up. It was in the Hollywood Hills, literally right, the Hollywood sign. I don't know if you went out back, you could see it. It was right in that area somewhere.
Wow.
And it was this big home in the Hollywood Hills, and it was a home that the actor, comedian, writers, Dan and Peter Aykroyd owned. And what Dito told us was it was a home. They didn't live there, but that's where they did their work. So they would come in, Peter would work on his, scripts or screenplays, and Dan would come in and work on his stuff. And so we were recording like in the living room of this home downstairs. And you walked in this huge foyer, and there's this room off to the right with these French doors. And we were recording in this kind of intimate setting with acoustic guitars and tambourines and bongos. And Peter Aykroyd, not Dan, but Peter would come in each day. And he'd come in the morning to do his work and say hi to us and listen to the track a bit. And then he'd head upstairs to do his work. And so we got to meet him pretty much every day we were working. We never met Dan, but we did meet Peter. And but supposedly they both owned that home to do their work. So
Very
yeah,
cool.
it's a funny little story. Like, yeah, we're not, how would you expect? It's because we recorded a lot of places all over California, LA, Hollywood, San Jose. But that was definitely one of the more unique ones, I would say.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what's on your guys' radar? You've got this album in the can, sounds great. You've played some gigs already, but what else is on the radar? What you guys going to be touring? You're going to be what you got going on in support of this?
Well, we're working on the live show. We're rehearsing to get tighter. We're going to throw a few more songs into the set that we haven't done yet. We've got about 20 songs right now, but we want 4 or 5 more to rotate stuff around. And we're looking at more shows right now. Nothing is in stone. We have a lot of different options and things we're thinking about trying, including some festivals and shows in Oklahoma and Texas and some other areas as well. So that's kind of our goal right now, is just to kind of keep this momentum going on this record, on the Beowulf record. So Andi, do you want to add to that, or?
No, I think that covered it really well. Yeah. Right now, looking at developing the performance, getting the live show, getting out there. Everybody wants to see us, some of the interviews that we've done. And as Corey mentioned earlier, the crowd reception has been great. I was also very kind of surprised and blown away by the young reaction that he mentioned at Beaumont. And then when we did the album release in Muskogee, Oklahoma, the crowd there was mixed, and another great reception. So
wow,
it's going really well. We're very happy with it. And as Corey said, we kind of want to continue this momentum. So we're going to be here. We have a lot of good plans, and just going to keep riding it. And hopefully do something big for everybody. We'd love to get out and meet you and meet everybody and play for everybody and just have a good time at some shows.
Oh, that'd be a blast. Now, I probably shouldn't bring this up, but I'm going to, because having lived in Texas, I know this can be a thing. You got players in Oklahoma. Is there any of this battle going back and forth between Texas and, one of my favorite, I'm not from there. I'm from here in Tennessee, but I lived there for 20 years. And they said that the reason why Texas will never fall in the ocean is because Oklahoma sucks. Do you guys kind of talk that kind of trash back and forth?
Oh, wait. Yeah. When we moved up there as kids, I felt some of that when we moved up there. We were the new kid in town, to quote the Eagles there, and I felt a lot of that being the Texas boy. And my thought of that, I remember as a kid, I'm like, what? Why are y'all picking on? I'm in Oklahoma. Why are y'all picking on me? I'm from Texas. There's not that big a difference. But no, go ahead, Corey.
We don't have as much of that as we used to. Once in a while, when there's a college football game on.
Oh yeah,
Steve might get a little excited.
Out. Yeah.
If OSU is playing, which is his alma mater, a little bit excited if it's beating the Texas team.
Yeah. My daughter almost went to OSU. She wound up going to OU instead. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, though, when I was working up in Northwest Arkansas on the Walmart account with a telecom company I was working for at the time, and before they built their little outdoor mall there, we had to go to Tulsa to go shopping, do any kind of mall shopping. So, and in my career there, I put in central office equipment in downtown Tulsa. And so I'm quite familiar with the town, and it's a great little place to go to. But I tell you what, I hope you guys do some touring. I haven't met Robert in person. I've interviewed him, of course, 3 times, and last couple times on video. And love the guy, always gracious. I can see why you guys connected there, but maybe y'all go on the road together and you'll come through East Tennessee or somewhere within driving distance of
Yeah,
here
that'd be
and
fun.
be able to meet up with you guys and all that. But man, I love your work. I love how you guys come across. I love your vibe. So please, anytime you have anything new going on or anything you want to get the word out on, let me know or go through John and we'll do one of these and I'll do my part to help get the word out and create new fans. But this is
Thank you,
a lot
Randy. I
of fun.
really appreciate that. Yeah,
So,
really, we do.
well, you guys stay safe and look forward to catching you down the road.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.